Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we are doing the 20,000 subscriber special, and because this channel wouldn't exist without you, I'm going to make it an all request video. Let's dive in.
Посмотрите на эту просто красотку, как она здесь выделяется, как она здесь красивая. Это просто прекрасная змея, очень красивая. Она просто природа создала, конечно, идеально.
That's a beautiful vine snake, but already with this person I'm seeing that there's some strange touching of the snake and some annoying it, which could be a sign that there's some cruel behavior in the pipeline.
О да, поплюй давай, молодец. Ой, молодец, красотка.
Yeah, so that is cruel. I don't care what anyone says, that's cruel. Tickling a snake, nudging a snake, tapping a snake, all the stuff we see people do with cobras to make them spit, to make them hood up. It's cruel because a cobra doesn't just hood up for fun, you know. Sometimes they do it when they're a bit excited, when they see food and stuff like that, but mainly they do it because they're annoyed and they're feeling a bit defensive. Sadly, a lot of us men have this stereotype that we cling to where we believe that women are almost always more compassionate and kind and less likely to be cruel and engage in this kind of thing. But there's always a minority, there's always an exception to the rule, there's always a few girls that join right in with the boys in doing this kind of cruel show-off behavior.
So you guys remember this, right?
No, there's multiple clutches in here.
Look at this. They just keep on coming. Well, they've all started to hatch. Take a look.
That is one empty egg, and right here we have our first hatchling boomslang. Really tiny little guy.
This is Kevin Hewlett, who's doing a follow-up video to the videos he did on this kind of boomslang infestation in a farm, basically. I can't remember if it was a farm or if it was just a large country house. But anyway, they were everywhere. There was eggs everywhere. He found several clutches, so he took them home, hatched them, and now he's got, just like in the other video, he ends up with a bucket of boomslang.
The tail very gently, and just pop them in there.
Really cool. He's made him a little tree to make him feel comfortable.
So right here we've got the first batch of boomslangs that are going to be released. There are a lot. I've just taken the branches out the bucket just to give you guys a better look at how many there actually are in this first lot that have hatched. Yeah, I'm not actually entirely sure how many there are, but there's a few. So these have all hatched in the last 3 days. So yeah, that's a lot of snakes in 3 days.
It's always fun hatching snakes, turtles, lizards, anything. It's just amazing when they come out the eggs. It feels like a huge achievement, even though, you know, you just have to put them in a box and make sure it's humid most of the time. But imagine saving that many snakes, being responsible for saving that many just yourself. He's got them off the property where they were. He's managed to transport the eggs safely and incubate them, so actually that is a pretty big achievement.
An amazing moment caught on tape. A woman sunbathing as a deadly king cobra is about to attack. What reflexes? Bare-handed bravery goes one headline. Another reads, she captures snake in midair. The heart-stopping attack took place in South Africa, and it's amazing people everywhere. But here's the problem. It's a hoax.
You're kidding me, it's a hoax.
Look here, citizen sleuths spotted what looks like the shadow of a guy, and he's reeling in a fishing rod. The cobra seems to be attached to the line. We showed the video to reptile expert Tom Hudak.
Cobras would never move in a straight line. They have to move in kind of an S shape, and they are incapable of those kind of speeds. The thing that jumped out at me, perhaps the most of anything in the video, was the coloration. It was a mix of black and white throughout the body and throughout the underbelly. And I don't know of any cobras that have anything close to that.
I thought Siamese spitting cobras were black and white sometimes, unless I'm getting confused. Anyway, if that guy's a snake expert, he really probably didn't feel very overwhelmed with the difficulty of that one, because that was just a terrible hoax. But somehow it got traction. It just boggles my mind how the internet works. The puff adder, another one of the fastest striking snakes in the world, and believe it or not, I've seen them strike much faster, and well, maybe not much faster, but much further than that. They've gone like bounced their body around and done almost incredible like gymnastics to swing around, and they're just one of these snakes that you don't want to get anywhere near, and you really don't want to step on one by accident. So when I started doing these reaction videos, I had done biology writing on and off and some other stuff over the years, you know, little articles here and there. I'd always been fascinated in snakes, but I realized that I really wasn't helping the animals in any way, shape or form. So I started to do these videos thinking that I could help change the way we perceive them and change it to more of an educational, respectful tone, maybe stop some animal abuse along the way. And I thought, okay, maybe these videos will do okay, maybe a few people enjoy them. But we've now got to 20,000 subscribers, and that's not just because people like looking at my face. If you watch this channel regularly, you'll notice that Bobby is much more handsome than me. It is because people really are on board with this idea of treating snakes and other reptiles with a lot more respect, and that is absolutely amazing. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone, and I'd also like to say if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Let's take this all the way to 100,000 subscribers and see if we can change the tone in the whole hobby. Again, they're cobras, they're annoyed. What does he expect them to do? When you multiply the snakes as well for more like, I don't know, clickbaitiness or whatever, you multiply the chances of an accident happening, and judging the distance of 3 at the same time, it's just not a good idea. I mean, it's just dumb.
Guys, I've got a very special snake here. It's an egg eater, and as you can hear by the name, it eats eggs. This one is quite small. They can grow a lot larger, up until like 1 meter. And something very special about this snake, besides that it really can flatten the head, is that it can make a specific sound mimicking an adder. And this sound he makes by basically rubbing his scales against each other. It's absolutely amazing. I love this species, and everything about it mimics the night adder. The coloration, the sound, the flattening of the skull.
That was a cool little snake, the rhombic egg eater. Personally, I've got to admit, I always assumed that egg eaters were mimicking saw-scaled vipers with that stridulation, that noise they make with their scales. But more recently, people have said no, they're actually mimicking the rhombic night adder, and visually they certainly resemble a night adder more, but the sound still sounds more like a saw-scaled viper to me. And then I got a bit confused about this, so I looked it up, and apparently there's like a disagreement going on. Some experts are saying they mimic the night adder, and others are saying they mimic the saw-scaled viper. So, what do you think?
Cobra, drop for drop, it's just as toxic as the black mamba, which takes about 15 meg of venom to end a person, and the anti-venom doesn't work real well from what I read.
That's an exceptionally beautiful snake. I love the different colour variations of Cape Cobras. But honestly, I didn't know that their venom was as potent per drop as that of the black mamba. That's a fascinating fact. Bit of a weirdo in the background, but beautiful little snake in the foreground there. That is a snake belonging to Boris Mikov, who has sent that video in for us. Boris, personally, I wouldn't handle it like that because I'm not a free handler, but it's not a very dangerous species, as you know, and you seem to have tamed it marvellously well. It seems very healthy and happy. What I would also say is that is a Vogel's pit viper, and that is a fascinating species. Why? Because it's a pit viper and they're always fascinating, but also because of the person it's named after. It is named after Gernot Vogel, who is a German, I think he was a chemist, but I might be wrong on that, I'm not sure. Hope if you're watching Gernot, I hope I haven't got that wrong. Now, I'm going to link his website here, because if you look into Gernot, the species he's described, you won't believe how many species one man has described and discovered. I'm talking definitely over 50, but the list is enormous. I mean, just go take a look. You will be very surprised.
Ui, cái đầu con mẹ. Con nào cắn đấy?
This is a really weird one here because I can't tell if they're really getting bitten or not. It seems like they are, I'm just not sure. I think these are little monocled cobras out in Vietnam. They're definitely speaking Vietnamese, but just have a look and see what you think.
Chóc. Ui, cái gì? Ui ôi. Ui, kìa. Ui. Ui sao bé tí này? Thằng này đùa tao à? Con bằng củ tay cơ mà. Ui, nó mổ cả cái mũi vực nữa kìa. Mọi người nhìn này. Ui giời. Kinh nhỉ. Ui ôi nó mổ hả? À. Ui cái đầu con mẹ. Con nào cắn đấy? Con đấy. Cắn này á? Cắn. Chừng nó. Nặng đấy.
Yeah, see there, he definitely was acting like he got bitten. It looked like he got bitten, and then they just randomly switched to selling products of some kind. I have no idea what's going on.
Một miếng cao rắn hổ mang. Đấy. Ở bên này nó cũng là một miếng cao chăn. Đấy. Thì toàn bộ chăn và rắn hổ mang đều là hàng tự nhiên.
Yeah. Anyway, if they were monocled cobras, I mean in Vietnam it could only be monocled or Siamese spitting cobras, I think. But anyway, if they're monocled, there's a cytotoxic or cell-popping component to its venom, so surely if you were getting bitten on the fingers, you know, you would feel effects. So it's the same venom as adults. It would be dangerous. You'd be feeling ill after a while. It could be life-threatening if you got bitten by lots of babies. So I just don't have any explanation for it. Now this next guy is something else, really.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Jezebel Farmer here. As you guys see, we got that Iron Dog Reptile t-shirt. First, we're going to start off with the Copperhead right here, Copperhead BBs. As you guys can see, sponsored by Copperhead BBs. Check them out right there, the same color as copper. So we're gonna go ahead and feed him a little hopper ASF.
So yeah, he's doing live feedings, but I'm not actually going to show it. I'm just going to kind of discuss the whole behavior around it.
I'm gonna go ahead and open him up. So as you guys can see, he is ready and alert. But dry water bowl gang, you know how we do in this neighborhood. We don't care about water, we don't care about how you feel. This is what we do out here, man. Snakes don't drink water every day, so back up.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. Water for reptiles is dependent on the ecosystem they come from. If they're a specialist desert species that will just gorge itself on water whenever you give it and make itself throw up, or it will make its humidity too high, then you only put water in occasionally, right? But if it's a species like a copperhead from the eastern United States, where humidity feels like a hot, wet blanket hitting you in the face in the summer, it needs water every day. And if the temperatures are high, that water should be changed and fresh every day. You adapt the water availability to the species. Species that are used to having water around, fresh water around regularly in the wild, need fresh water at all times. It's non-negotiable.
Get up off me, man. Weirdos. So here we go. We're going to get him a little hopper. It's just a compilation. It's nothing crazy. So as you guys can see, we got a little ASF rat that I'm breeding. And
no, it just takes the live feeder and just throws it in. Just chucks it in. You know, why not add more pain to the situation while you're there?
Look at the puff adder, man. He's ready for food. Look at, see? He's very ready for food. Let me go grab him a rat real quick for y'all. Okay, we got a little rat right here. ASF rat. And let him have it.
Again, he just chucks it in. A while later in the video, he's talking smack to the mice, or the ASFs as it were, and it's just, the whole vibe is just a bit wrong, you know. Personally, I don't feed live feeders. I don't like to do that. You're not supposed to do it in the UK at all, actually, and even as a kid when I was in the States, I didn't like doing it. So you should feed frozen thawed, you know, mice, ASF, whatever you want to, but also, like, if you are feeding your animals and you're feeding live feeders, you shouldn't really be taking pleasure in seeing the mouse get hurt and suffer, as some people do seem to. That was kind of the vibe I was getting a little bit there. It's not healthy to be taking pleasure in any animal suffering, really. Even if it is a live feeder, it should be kept and treated with respect up until it dies. There are species that will only accept live food. There's species in zoos which they feed live food because they have to. So it does happen, but there's a way to do things, and there's an attitude around things that makes it appropriate, or not appropriate in this case.
कौन सा है ये? कोबरा है ना?
So a lot of you will be thinking that he held the snake and treated it in a very disrespectful way and that he deserved to get bitten, and then he did get bitten. But I mean, what a way to handle an animal and not expect it to bite you. I mean, sometimes I just don't know what's going on in these clips. I don't know what's going on in people's heads. If they think that like the showing off or the hatred for the animal is going to protect them from, you know, negative outcomes, I don't know. But I mean, some of these clips they're just a bit too crazy for me to understand, I think.
This monster of a western diamondback rattlesnake. Look at the size of this snake right here looking at me. Oh, rattling away. This is a monster female actually. Wow. This is a pit viper from North America. We're just on the US-Mexican border looking for the indigo snake, and we find this monster of a western diamondback, the Crotalus atrox. They have heat-sensitive pits, and they can detect their prey at nighttime, which is an incredible feature when it comes to these beautiful rattlesnakes here in North America. But the massive size of this snake, look at this thing. If I can get him to just stretch out. Look at the size of this rattler.
Overall, he did a good job of not getting bitten. That was a huge western diamondback. The only thing I'd say is that, like me, I would never be handling a snake like that on my knees on uneven ground. Because if I fell backwards or I had to stumble backwards and get up suddenly, you know, when you do that thing, you're on your knees and you kind of fall backwards a bit and you need to stand up quickly. If you hold on to the snake for a fraction of a second too long, that would put your knees within striking range for a split second. And that's the kind of thing that causes accidents. So that's why I wouldn't handle it on my knees, quite simply. Now this next one is the weirdest documentary I've ever seen. It's supposed to be a serious documentary, but there's a few small problems here.
Did you know? King cobras are one of the only snakes that attack not only other species but also their own kind. The king cobra is the world's longest and most venomous snake.
Okay, it is the longest, but it's not the most venomous. It's also one of many species that eat other snakes and their own kind, so that's pretty terrible right from the start.
While most snakes hunt frogs and rodents, the king cobra hunts other snakes. It even preys on its own kind. With razor-sharp vision and sense of smell, it tracks trails through the forest, then delivers a fatal bite with a single, precise head bite.
Now we have inordinately long pauses between words in the same sentence, which makes no sense whatsoever. And then he says that it delivers a fatal bite to the head.
In the midst of a dense forest, a young king cobra quietly memorized its prey. But then another king cobra approached. In an instant, the one following it pounced on the smaller cobra and bit its head. Elsewhere, two king cobras of nearly equal size faced each other. A moment's hesitation could mean the difference between fate and death. One moved first, rushing forward with lightning speed and biting the other's head.
Okay, so we're switching between multiple cobras, multiple species there. It makes no sense whatsoever, and he's become obsessed with the idea that the king cobra always bites its prey on the head. And they're not that good a shot. I mean, I'm sure they try, but I've seen so many videos of them biting a snake on the lower neck, the mid-body, etc., wrestling around with it, particularly pythons when they try and get away. So yeah, I mean, good try. The footage is obviously recycled over and over, and it's just a load of crap, basically. Sorry. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this 20,000 subscriber special, and I hope we're going to take it a lot further. Thank you very much.